been working on a theory. I'm big on my theories. And one of my theories is that now the idea of the type of hypermobility that we're seeing in your body, we see quite regularly. We don't necessarily see it at high levels, because it does take us so much skill to get that working, that we oftentimes, those bodies either get injured, right, or they don't progress the way that we're seeing you progress. But we see them. So there's this hyper fascination with you in this, very akin to Alicia Graff, in the idea of like, ah! And my thing is, I'm wondering if you get that sort of reaction because it's packaged in a brown body. You know, because we do see that sort of facility, and we're awed by it, but it's not like the reaction that you get with this sort of facility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially in the classical ballet world, there are so many stereotypes as to how they view black women, how they view black dancers, how they view black bodies. And it's out there. I just don't think it's out there in black bodies. I just don't think that black people are exposed to this art form, or feel like they can be accepted into this art form, so you don't get a large group of them where you can find those bodies. So it's very limited. So yes, I think that people react that way because I have brown skin, and I think they are used to seeing this type of movement on a white body. And you know, they associate black people with having flat feet and being extremely muscular, so
and tighter,
yes.
There's all sorts of things just go like,
and it's not true. And you know, as you were saying with Alicia Graff, I mean, she's a prime example as well. That it's there. I just think that if more black people were in a ballet class, you would see the diversity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost incredible, because I consider ballet, professional ballet, to be very much like the NFL. You know, there's only a certain amount of ballet companies, and there's only a certain amount of people in them, and only a certain amount of people will ever dance in them. I mean, it's an elitist art form in that way.
It is.
And it's also classist, because it takes an incredible amount of money to make a dancer.
Right.
And that is a very specific sort of combination. And that might also be why we see fewer.
It's true. It is very true. That needs to change.
I mean, you do a lot of work with the Uptown Dance company, school.
Yes.
And I think that's wonderful for you to be with them in a way that they can actually see that you are human, and not like, you know, not just a poster, but actually to have conversations and that mentoring.
I mean, that's why I get out there as much as I can with different organizations, even that are not directly involved in ballet. You know, I speak to so many groups of students through the Boys and Girls Club and through Black Girls Rock. I attend public schools, and I do all of these things because I want them to see that you can be involved in this, even if you don't come from money, even if you don't come from a family that grew up in this art form. There are scholarships. I mean, my entire training was based on a full scholarship. I didn't pay to go to school.
And they have to know that they have to be exposed to it. They have to see you in order to go, oh, that's a possibility.
Right.
Okay, so my other theory was that the focus that oftentimes gets put on your body takes away from people seeing your artistry. And I say this because I feel like the kids that go like, Misty, they're like, ooh, the leg, and you go like, hi, the leg goes up, and they're like, ooh, you know, all that. There's that. But then there's also sort of like the idea, and I always say, I use the Williams sisters, the Venus and Serena tennis players, as an example of when they first started. They were winning. All they could talk about was how strong they are. you know, and Martina Hingis, who was #1 at the time, she was the intelligent player. She had skill, the craft to set up her opponent and place the ball directly in the corner. And it made it sound like they were just going to jump over the net and beat the crap out of the girl because that's how strong. You know what I mean? As if there was no skill involved, as if there was nothing, there was no intellect involved. Right. And so I'm very protective of you, whether you know it or not, in saying that the body is this idea of the body
can only get you so far.
Is a portion of it.
Yes, exactly.
And say so. The looking deeper is so important for people to do.
There's no way that #1, being a Black woman, being a soloist with American Ballet Theater, that I could have gotten to this level without having more than a body. And yes, I think that you have to be that much more dedicated being a Black woman in this field. You have to be that much more intellectual with understanding how with the two connecting, because it's very often that you can be such a smart person, but your body just doesn't understand.
Right,
and vice versa. You can have a really smart body, but not really understand
at all
what's going on.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's easy to overlook those things.
To like dismiss it.
Right. But I definitely would not be where I am without all of those other things and without the dedication and working so hard to get to where I am and understanding what I'm doing.
Right. And being clear.
Yes, being clear.
Being absolutely clear.
That's so important to me. Every time I step onto a stage, I'm not the kind of dancer that, you know, I have freedom on stage, but when it comes to a classical role, I'm not going to go for something just to get 5 pirouettes and possibly not have a good end finish.
Right.
It's more important for me to go on stage and feel like I am clean and clear and precise in everything I do, even if I'm having an off day.
Right.
That's my goal, not to just get out there and whack my leg and kind of see what happens.
In the contemporary vein of what you do, when you work with, when people work on you,
yes,
do they lend themselves to that more, oh God, let me see it? Or do you feel like people are really trying to stretch you into another area of yourself?
And I'm obviously more intrigued with those people that are trying to challenge me. Which I feel such a strong connection with Alexei Ratmansky, because I feel like he gets things out of me that I had no idea I could do, and he sees it in me, and it's a great feeling to know that he sees that I have no limits.
To be seen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And not just what you see in front of
exactly.
you. Naturally, I am it's very easy for me to do the contemporary ballets. Like, I could do it with my eyes closed in my sleep. So it's not always fun if you're not being challenged. But yeah, it's interesting. I think more now, you know, I look back on these videos from a month ago when Alexei was first creating Firebird, and I'm looking at these videos trying to remember the choreography, and I'm like, is that me? Like, how did he get me to do that? And that's such an amazing feeling. To see
and when you say that, what is he getting you to be able to
The movement is extreme and so well-rounded, but it's so clear and vivid. So it doesn't, because I'm stretching myself, it doesn't become blurry and kind of all jumbled up, but he just gets me to do such extreme things while still staying within my bounds of the classical technique.
Right, okay. What's hard for you? Is anything hard for you? I mean, what, like, you go like, oh!
Hard for me, I think, has, you know, just doing the classical variations and stamina-wise, staying, gosh, I don't know. I'm an easy mover. And so I think that things have gotten easy for me the more opportunities I get to go out there and do a full
Right, you have to get to do it.
You have to have the experience in order to grow and get stronger and feel more comfortable. But and I think also because when I joined the company, it was so easy for them to say, you're a contemporary dancer. Just because I was better than everyone else at that, it was easier for them to put me. And the more you hear you're not a classical dancer, the more your body listens to that and doesn't allow you, you know, you feel scared.
And then you also, it changes what you ask yourself, what you ask of yourself.
The body is very smart, and I think that it hears everything that you're saying about it, that other people are saying about it, and it responds to it. If that makes any sense.
No, it really does, because one of my things is about language. Like, this platform for me is about changing language, about the way that we talk about it, the adjectives we use. The way, like, I was in a dressing room once, and one of the teachers said, oh, you know, so-and-so, she has such a hard body. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Right.
You know, everybody has a limitation. You have a hard body.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because you have to work so hard to organize it and get it together. But just because someone is restricted, I was like, well, it's not, because that will...
It's very sensitive.
It does something, like you say.
It does.
Like you say, it does. So the classical, so the seeing yourself as, or allowing yourself.
Allowing myself.
To be classical.
And the thing is that I struggled so much with them when I first joined ABT was that, you know, I had to go back and say to myself, I only know classical ballet. That's all I was taught growing up. I was not a contemporary dancer that came into a classical company. So it was kind of like, how are they going to typecast me in this way when I am a classical ballerina? And I think it took just kind of finding that motivation again and feeling confident and knowing that it was possible for me to do these things. And I think getting out there and doing gigs and other things like that, where I could kind of experiment and expand on my own terms without feeling their judgment. And I feel really confident in the classical works right now. And it's a great feeling. You know, I'm going to be doing Gamzadi and Mabaya Dare, which is a huge classical role for anyone. Being a black woman, to be put up there, it's a really big deal.
I think it's really incredible what you just expressed, because how quickly it can change. The idea that you were trained classically, and then all somebody has, not all that, you do something, you do it well, and all of a sudden the box comes out. And it's so easy for you to believe that is what you're supposed to do. And also because you're so young. You're young.
And I knew that I was more advanced than most people in this classical ballet company when it came to moving. So I was believing everything that I was being told.
And it's nice because it's actually a compliment, but then you're like...
but you're in a classical company, and my goal is to be a ballerina, not to be the contemporary dancer in the ballet company.
And the idea that it's not balanced when you start just hearing, oh, well, so-and-so's a good mover. That's a moving thing. She'd be good for that. And then when something else comes up, it's like, And then you yourself start to go like, well, maybe I'm not that.
And I did believe that. And I think that, you know, when of course, having these mentors, it's hard when they're not ballet dancers to really believe them. I think that I had a huge turning point and eye-opener when I started working with Prince. And having someone who is completely saturated in his art form, and hearing him from someone that I respected so much as an artist, and hearing him say these things to me, you know, of what he saw in me as a performer, and that he saw me as a ballerina, and he said, you belong in a tutu. You know, you don't, like, that's how he saw me. And hearing him think of me as having no limits, it was like, I started to believe it again.
Like, it's all words. And what the weight that you put on them and whose mouth they come out of. Because when you're trying, as a dancer, all you try to do is please. Whoever's in the front of the room, in front of the house, all you ever try to do is please. The last thing you want to do is let someone down. And so when somebody goes, oh, you can't do that, I don't know if you're capable of that, you start to go, oh my God, it's just like parenting. I mean, it's so incredibly important.
They are, but
and that little thing
can just change everything. I feel so at home and at ease in the classical in classical ballets at this point in my career, and it's such a great feeling.
Good, and stay there.
I am.